Okay, here we are. We've started to build our profile page. We have a little bit of content on it, like our name, our birthday, and our height. And I'm looking at it. I'd like a way to make the actual labels, like name, birthday, and height, a little bit different from what they are. And there is a tag where you can do that. It's called the strong tag. So I'm going to, again, put another tag in here. This time it will be the strong tag. There you go. Once I put my closing bracket there, it's going to give me the closing tag. So I'm just going to cut name into there and paste it. Alright, let's take a look at what this looks like after I've done that. So I'll save it, and then I'll display it in the web browser. And you can see it's bolded it. Now you might be asking here, well, why don't you just call it bold? And at one time they really did. That used to be an HTML tag. But they've decided, for the sake of semantics, and there's a good argument there for it, that it should be called something different than bold. Because strong doesn't really always mean bold. It could be emphasized in some other way. It could be emphasized with an underline or something else. And you would add these kind of things into CSS. But the default emphasis for the strong tag is to bold it. And if you actually write bold, browsers may still understand it, but it's called a deprecated tag, which means it shouldn't be used anymore, because there's going to become a point in time where the browsers will not understand it anymore. They won't be what's called backward compatible. So let's just copy these into our other labels. Guess we need the closing tag, or the whole thing's going to be strong. Okay, let's take a look at what it looks like now. And so you see they're all emphasized, the labels. Okay, now, even with this, it looks kind of blah, it looks kind of plain. There's no styles connected to it. And in this first series of lessons, we won't be working with the styles because that's actually another web language. So we want to get a little bit of skills with our HTML language first before we move on to learning a second language. So how they've solved that in our Code Avengers learning system is that they've actually created a couple style sheets for us where these styles are located. And all we have to do is link to them. They're on the web, in the Code Avengers website, and as long as we put a link into this, or towards this, or to this style sheet, then we're okay with actually displaying the one that they've already made for us. This link that goes to the style sheet that they've already made for us is a little more complicated than an ordinary tag. I should say the link tag is a little bit more complicated, and it does belong in a certain place within your web page, which is in the top. We'll learn later that that's called the header, but for now I'm just going to open up a new line after title. That's where it's usually found, and the tag for it is link. Okay, but there's a little bit more actually involved with this one. It has what we call an attribute to it. Okay, it actually has two attributes, and the first is when we use this link tag, we need to say what kind of relationship this link is to, and this is the REL. This is the attribute. They usually show them in yellow in this editor, and it's equal to, and then we give it a value, and the value is a style sheet. So it's telling our browser that this link that we're giving it is a link to a style sheet. And you can see the way the syntax is displayed here. It needs to be right, or else we'll get an error. So we have the regular tag itself, we have its attribute, which is the REL relation, and then we have the value of that attribute, and that value is Stylesheet, and the value is always put in quotes. Actually, we have to put another one in here too. We've put the relationship that it's a style sheet, but we haven't told the browser where that style sheet actually is. So there's another attribute that is used to do that, and that's called the hypertext reference, or the href. Okay, and that is actually going to tell our browser where to find our style sheet. And it's written the same way with the same syntax. We have to have an equal sign, and then we have to have some quotes. What do you think goes inside these quotes? Well, probably the location on the web where it is. It could be within your pages themselves, your website itself, or in this case, it's actually on the Code Avengers website. Now, you have to be very careful here. We're going to type it in instead of finding it in the browser and copy and pasting it. But you have to be very careful that you remember to put the HTTP, which is the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, which tells actually every URL or address, or as we call it, the Uniform Resource Locator, needs to start with that. And then we have 2 forward slashes again. And then we go to the www codeavengers.com site, but it's not right on their home page. It's actually another what we call directory, or system of folders for Windows people. This directory is called CSS because that's where they have all their style sheets. And they've given it a name, and it is Profile 1. You can still see .css. It has to have an extension, the CSS extension on it. Okay, you see that we still have an error here. Why do you think that is? Well, we've had the opening part of this tag here, but we've neglected to put the closing bracket here. And it's okay with that. This one doesn't really need a closing tag to it. It's one of those ones like doctype or break that the browser is just fine with it the way it's written. All right, just to review, what we've done is we've put a link to a style sheet in here. The relationship of this link is the style sheet. And we've actually put the place on the web where we can find this style sheet, which is in the Code Avengers website. And when we save this and display it, we should see some styles. And we do, as you can see right here. These are styles that were written up by Michael Walmsley on his website, and we don't have to worry about them at this moment. This is a little more advanced, but we'll be getting to it pretty soon. Now, he has more than one style sheet up there, and he did actually, you can play around with it. I don't know how many he actually has, but if I do 2 and save it, you can see it's changed the color of the label. So there are very minor changes, I think, but you can play around and see if there's any more major ones, or how many there actually are. Okay?